everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. I'm so happy to have you here today. Today's video, I'm going to teach you how to take a picture and turn it into a really fun text design. Now we're going to use a picture from Hawaii and make a little Hawaii shirt. I thought this was such a fun thing that you can do. What's great is you can use any picture that you want. You could use a family photo, you could use a landscape, pictures of your dog, whatever you want to do, whatever words you want to do. This is a super fun way to do it. Now we're going to be using some Tech Wrap printable HTV for darks, and this product works with your inkjet printers. So I use an Epson ET2720. They no longer make that printer, so I will link a very equivalent one down below for you. That way you can find a great printer that will work perfect for what you want to get done. Now let's go head over to Design Space and I'm going to show you how easy it is to design this. This is such a fun way to use Design Space with printable HTV to create something fun, a commemorative thing, or something to celebrate someone. But we're going to be using a picture from my trip to Hawaii last year. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use text to start my design. So I'm going to open up my text box and I'm just going to type in Hawaii because that's what I want it to say. And then I can go through and choose a font, but I'm going to show you a trick that I like to use. Wordmark IT is an awesome site. All you do is type in what you want your word or your phrase to say, and I want it all in capitals, so I want to make sure that I type it that way. And then you just hit this little arrow and it's going to show you a preview of all of your different fonts that you have in your computer. So it pulls your computer fonts, it pulls your system fonts. It won't pull Cricut fonts, but I don't tend to use those too often anyways. So now what I want to do is I'm going to scroll through and I'm going to see if there are any that stand out to me as oh, that would be cute. So I kind of like this one, so I'm going to click on it. Now I'm going to go through and choose a couple of different fonts that I think might work for this. Now using a picture, I want fonts that are a little bit thicker. I don't want to use something super thin because you're never going to see the picture through it. So when doing this, try to choose a thicker, heavier font. So I'm going to go through, pick out a couple of those, and then we can choose from those and find the one that we want to use. Once you've gone through and selected some of your options that you want to look for, all you have to do is click Filter Selected Fonts. And then it'll show you all the ones that I chose. Now, I didn't mean to choose this one, so I'm going to get rid of that one right away. Now what you can kind of do is look at them and say, okay, maybe I don't like this one as much. I don't like the W here. It looks too big, so I'm going to get rid of that one. And I think, I don't know. I don't love this one quite as much as I thought I might, so I'm going to get rid of that. I don't like this one quite as much either, and same with Cooper Black. I can get rid of that. I think that one looks a little weird, so I can just sort of go through and get rid of any that I just am not feeling for this design. I think this one's a little bit weird. The round one looks a little better. I like Rainbow Memories. I think that would be really, really cute. But the other thing is too, I also am going to probably want to see these with the pictures in it. So let's head back over to Design Space. Now, so over in Design Space, go ahead and select your font. And what I do is I'm going to go into my system fonts and I'm going to search for that first one, which we thought was Franklin Gothic. So I'm just going to search for Franklin, and it was Franklin Gothic Heavy. So I'm going to select that. And sometimes once you see them over here, you maybe don't like them as much, but honestly, that one's pretty good. Now what I want to do is duplicate this, and I'm going to slide one over to the side, and then I'm going to change the font on this one to the next one down our list, which is Fries and Shakes, and I'll select that one. Then I'll slide this one over again. I'm going to duplicate, and I'm going to just keep changing the font so that I can kind of look at them all kind of together and just see which one I think I might like best. I find doing this to be really helpful for me, especially if I'm doing something that I really want to look super a certain way. So I'm gonna go with Rainbow Memories. That one should be right here. And then I have one more, which is Sunday Bright. So I'm just gonna slide that one over, and then this one will be Sunday Bright. And okay, now I kind of can look at them all a little bit larger, a little bit closer together, and see if anything stands out as don't love it. Like right now, this one, which I believe was Impact, not loving for the look I'm going for. And then I think this one looks really similar to Impact, so I'm going to get rid of that one. I want something a little more fun and playful. I don't know why. This one really gives me the like vibes of the island, but I don't think I love the eyes as much. I really like the eyes with this one. And if you're never like sure which font you selected, you can look up here where it says Fries and Shakes font. I think that's the one we're going to go with. I think that's kind of the vibe. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it much bigger just so I can see it better. And I need to upload the picture that I want to input into these letters. So I'm going to go to upload. I'm going to choose upload image, and then I'm going to drag and drop the image I want to use. I want to use this image. This is actually of Diamond Head, which is a crater in Hawaii. Now, it might take a second to upload your photo depending on how large it is, depending on how high quality it is. So this is Diamond Head. It was such a cool thing. So I'm going to go ahead and click continue. That was actually from the beach of our hotel. I'm going to let this load really quick. And again, this may take a few seconds extra, especially using like a high quality digital photo like this. Once it's loaded, go ahead and click apply and continue. And we don't need to like remove any backgrounds from these or anything. So it's just a simple apply, continue, and then select the next step, which is flat graphic, because we're going to use this for print and cut. Go ahead and click continue. From here, I'm just going to go ahead and click upload, and it will put it into my canvas. Now again, it might take a second because it's a pretty big picture. Now my photo has loaded and it's enormous, so I'm going to go ahead and just size it down to 10 inches wide. We'll make it bigger here in just 1 second. Because I think what I want to do with this Hawaii, I want to put the letters a little bit closer together. Now you can do this in 2 ways, and I'll show you both. Number 1 would be to use the letter spacing up here at the top, and if I want them closer, I just hit the down arrow. But one thing I don't like about that is you'll notice that because of the like shape of the letters, the I's eventually touch, but the W and the A don't. So I am going to undo that. I'm just going to put the letter spacing back to 0. The way I personally like to do it is I go to advanced and I ungroup this to letters. Then I can manually move the letters myself. And that way I can make sure that they don't overlap and touch too much, but I can also make sure that they're much closer together. And then I'll show you how to make sure they're aligned really nicely so that we can do this so it looks really, really good. The eyes are always going to look a little bit weird just because they have a lot more like open space at the top up here, but I think that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is select all. I'm going to go to align, and I'm going to align their bottoms just to make sure that nothing moved anywhere. Then I'm going to go down to combine, and I'm going to weld them. The reason I weld them is because I don't want them to move. I want them to be one single layer because we need to slice our image out of our letters. So now you'll see that your image is below your letters. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my picture bigger. And then I'm going to kind of lay it out where I want it to slice onto my image. I want some of Diamond Head, but I also want some of the sky. I think that looks pretty even, about where I want it. So now what I'm going to do is select the image and the word and simply click slice. Now we can move the background and you can move your words, and you can see if you're happy with how that looks. Now, if you're not, just click undo until that slice has been undone. And I think I want to move this up a little bit, this image. I just want to move it up so I can just move the words down. It doesn't matter. But I do think I want a little bit more of Diamond Head in it and a little less of the sky. Now I can try this again, and all I have to do is click slice. Adding pictures to words is super easy, so then I can just kind of slide these over. That's much better. That I think is more the image I was going for. A little bit more of Diamond Head, a little less sky. I love that we got a little bit of the building in there. I think that's cute. Now I can go ahead and delete the other portions of my design. Now for this, I want to add a little offset just so that it stands out really nicely. So what I'm going to do is choose offset. And I don't want a really, really big offset. I want something that's going to be a little smaller. So I don't want it to be huge. Maybe that might be okay. All right, let's try that. Let's see what we think. I think that's actually perfect. It's a little bit thin. It does touch in some spots, but that's totally fine. I'm really happy with that. Now, once I've got this, I'm going to take both pieces and I'm going to flatten them because that tells Design Space that we are not going to be cutting this apart, we want the offset to stay attached to the words, and we want it to only cut around the complete outline. We don't want it to cut around anything else. So it'll only cut the white spaces. Now this is obviously really, really big. It's way too big for our print then cut area. So we need to size this down. Now I'm using an A4 size. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my settings here, and I'm going to change my load type, and I want to change it to A4 and click done. Now we just size this down so that it fits within the A4. Now it does look really small, but I promise you it's not that small in person. And with using A4, you can go a little bit bigger than you can with some of the other ones. This one you can actually go pretty big, which is nice. I'm going to put this, I think, on to a t-shirt or a hoodie. So I don't actually need to go like huge. I don't probably want to go more than like, I would say more than like 10 inches maybe, but we'll go a little under. I think that's a good size for this. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to click save. I'm going to save this as Hawaii and click save. And now from here, we can send this to our printer to print off onto our printable HTV. So what we can do is you're going to click on the word make, and you are going to see that it'll bring up our printable area. Now this, I could actually probably fit two. So let's see if we can do that, because I hate wasting space, and I can always probably find something else to put this on. So I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to put it right under the other one, just with a little bit of space. I'm going to select them both, and I'm going to attach them. And now I can just print out two of them, and it'll print on one page. That way I'm not wasting some material. I could honestly maybe even fit three. It'd be tight, but either way, I can fit this just fine onto my material. Now from here, we need to do a couple things. We're going to click continue, and then you're going to click send to printer. Now this is not going to send this to the printer immediately. It's going to bring up your options. Now I'm going to be using an inkjet printer for this, and I use my ET2720, which is an Epson EcoTank. I'll link one down below that I recommend. They don't make my model anymore. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to leave bleed on. That pushes the color of the offset just out a little bit, so that if it cuts just slightly off, it's not going to leave any white. And then I also want to use my system dialog. That's going to allow me to change some preferences within my printer to make sure that I get the best print setting. Now, using a printable HTV for darks, I'm using the Tech Wrap brand. This is not going to need to be mirrored. This stays just as it is, no mirroring. Now you can click print, and it's going to bring up our printer preferences. Under our printer preferences, make sure you select the right printer. So I'm using that ET2720. I'm going to click preferences, and then from here, I'm going to change my paper to the A4 paper. I'm going to make sure that it's set to portrait, and then I'm going to change my paper type. Now, I have found that with the Tech Wrap printable HTV, that I have found using the printing that I normally use, the premium presentation paper matte, seems to be a little bit too much ink for it. So I have found that just plain paper works perfectly. Then what I want to do is I do change my quality from standard to high, because that is definitely important. It makes a big difference. And then for me, I go to more options, and I turn off that high speed print. Now from here, you're going to go ahead and click OK, and then click print to send it to your printer. We're ready to cut out our printable. So you want to make sure when you load this into your machine that you load it the direction that it shows on Design Space. So the eyes are at the top. So I want the eyes to be at the top of my mat. And you want to try to get this as straight as you can onto your mat. And I am using a light grit mat for this. It should be just fine. To make sure it's well pressed down. Then I'm going to load this. Now I cut this on the rice paper setting, but I highly recommend that you do a test cut with your machine and your material to make sure that it's going to work for you. Once it's finished cutting, I always want to check my cut. So the way I do it, I know it's gonna be a little hard to see, is I'll take the edge over here and I peel this back. Instead of trying to peel the design off, and I'll just see if it cut. Now it doesn't feel like it cut great, but when you kind of use your finger along the edge, you'll see that it really cut pretty nicely. So I'm gonna go ahead and unload this. So all I simply do is I just take the background off, so all this excess, you weed it just like you do vinyl, and then all you do is you just kind of make sure, especially around like the sharp corners, that everything's coming off really nicely. But look at how beautiful this is working. So good. And this type of printable HTV actually has a backing that is black, which I find helps keep the design super colorful on any color shirt that you use it on. So I'm gonna go ahead and just keep peeling this. I've got just this little spot of the W that didn't want to stay down. And it's okay if it comes off the backing, because eventually we have to take it off anyways. Now you do have some small spots like between the A's that you want to get out. So you're going to want to peel those out. And then between the two I's, we have a spot that we need to get rid of. So I just use my pin pen and pop those out. And then we just got to get the spot in the eye. All right, perfect. So now these are pretty much good to go. I'm going to go ahead and peel them off of our mat. Just gonna roll that off, no big deal. And now what we can do is use the transfer paper to get that off. So this here is heat transfer mask made specifically for this product. Now what I like to do is I'm actually gonna take my heat transfer mask and I'll probably trim it down. But first I wanna trim these apart so that I can only grab one at a time. So I'm just gonna grab my scissors and cut this in half without cutting the design. And we can save one and use the one right now, and then we can put the other one on something else later. So I'll use this one that's got the W and the I already coming up. And all I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna trim down my transfer mask, just so I don't waste it, because I don't need to use the whole sheet. So you can absolutely trim these down. And I'm just gonna kind of cut it so that it just fits over our design. And this is just like using transfer tape, so it's not really any different. Now what I want to do is there are two sides to this. So one side will be sticky and one side won't. Now sometimes getting these apart can be a little difficult. But usually if you just bend a corner back, they will separate. But if like me, you're having trouble, just go ahead and use a pin pen and you can easily get that under the edge to start your peel. And what you'll see is one side is not sticky at all. It's like a really thin, crinkly paper. And then the other one is a thicker, heavier mask. Now all I have to do is take my mask and set it down onto my design. And this part pretty easy. It is a little staticky though. So like you'll see kind of how my W wants to like grab to it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lay it down just down here at the bottom. And then I just wanna make sure that this W decides to lay flat. And then I wanna just make sure that that I is gonna lay flat. So I just use my finger underneath. And then all you have to do from here is just press it down. You can use a squeegee, but I have found you don't really need one. This usually comes off the backing pretty easily. And then you flip it over just like you do with vinyl, and then you should be able to just simply remove the backing from the printable HTV. And you'll see that it comes off pretty darn flawlessly. And now we have our design ready to be put onto our shirt. So I'm gonna grab our shirt and show you how to line this up. I have this shirt from Hanes. This is 100% cotton. This can work on cotton, polyester, pretty much most fabrics, blends, all the things. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna fold it in half so I can see where the center is. And the center is like right kind of a little to the side of the W. And I have a pre-pressed line on this shirt that shows me center. I must have pressed it for something else, but that's a perfect little thing. Then you want to do about 3 fingers down from your collar, and you want to line up your center line. And then you just want to make sure that it looks straight and even and you're happy with where it's sitting. I think it looks really good where it's at, so I'm good with that. Now I need to set my heat press, and it presses at 329 degrees for about 25 seconds. So I'll take you over to my heat press and show you how we press this and then the final product. Got my shirt all set on to my press. I also have a pressing pillow under here, and a lot of you always ask, what about a Teflon sheet? Did you forget it? No, my Teflon sheet is always attached to my press with some magnets. I'll link my Teflon sheet and my magnets down below. I'm gonna go ahead and press this. I'm using a medium firm pressure at 329 for 25 seconds. Once it's done, you can go ahead and lift this up, and our design is pressed. Now, with this product, you typically want to let it cool, but this one really works well if you just peel it hot, and oh, it's so cute. So I'm going to let this cool off, and then I'll let you guys see what it looks like up close. This is just a really quick, easy way that you can add something really fun to a shirt or other fabric product. You could also print this on sticker paper if you wanted to. One thing I really love about the tech wrap is how soft it is. Now, I do think I need to clean my print heads. You can see there's a little bit of lines in my print. That's my printer's problem. I need to do a print head cleaning. It's been a while. But regardless of that, I still think it looks really nice, and unless you're right on top of it, you can't see those lines anyways. I wanted to show you kind of the difference between it on the white background and then also on the teal background so that you can see it really doesn't change color because of that black backing that's on this. Now, I'll link it down below, and you can always use code Corinne10 to save when you shop with tech wrap. I really like this product. It's so nice. If you have any questions, please let me know in those comments down below. I'm always happy to answer those for you. Make sure you're subscribed here, that way you don't miss out on any of our fun content coming.